Now
on 105.9 FM and streaming worldwide on the WMAL app.
O'Connor and Company.
7:06, O'Connor and Company. Thanks for tuning in here on a very busy Thursday morning. Yeah, we've got still much more to say about that interview of Kamala Harris on Fox News Channel with Brent Barrett last night. We spent quite a bit of time already breaking it down, but there's more to come. Also at 7:35, we'll delve into it with Brent Bozell of Media Research Center. 8:05, KT McFarland will join us. And then at 8:35, Sean Spicer, former White House press secretary and now host of the Sean Spicer Show. It's Larry O'Connor, and, Mercedes Schlapp is getting her Gloria Estefan groove going here, which we always appreciate.
It's always such a great song. I always feel like it wakes me up.
Come on, shake your body, baby, do that conga.
Okay, that might be a little too much, but sure,
I'm
I'll
just
try.
quoting the lyrics. You know who else is also a huge fan of the Miami Sound Machine and Gloria Estefan, and also I believe he actually plays drums like Tito Puente. He is Congressman Barry Loudermilk of the 11th District in Georgia, chairman of the Committee on House Administration Subcommittee on Oversight. Congressman Loudermilk, you don't need to take my bait. Welcome to the show. Good to talk with you.
Well, let me tell you, it's good to be with you both, and I learn something new about myself every day.
Yes.
And in
Right,
this role, people tell stories about you and your past that you didn't even know, and I just learned a new one today.
We will forgive you if you adopt a Latino accent like Kamala Harris does, depending on the circumstance. Listen, when I last interviewed you, I think it was the day of the State of the Union. The Republicans were doing a press row up there at the Cannon office building, and you were talking about some of the things you've already discovered about what happened behind the scenes with the January 6th committee. And I said, can we make this go faster? And you looked at me and you said, Larry, I'm going to do this right. I'm not going to do this like Liz Cheney and Adam Kinzinger did. I'm going to do it right. I'm going to dot the I's. I'm going to cross the T's. And so as you continue this process, the latest discovery are these text messages and signal messages that occurred, it appears, between Cassidy Hutchinson, that star witness, and Liz Cheney, a sitting congresswoman at the time. Cassidy Hutchinson had representation. She had attorneys. And here's a congresswoman running that committee talking directly to a witness after she had already testified a couple of times in what appears to be a complete breach of ethics, if not actual legal. That looks like witness tampering, Congressman.
Well, it's interesting that if you think back during this whole investigation, supposed investigation they were doing, Liz Cheney went on a rampage about witness tampering because they were accusing Donald Trump of doing it. And so,
of course, every
she
time.
went as far as saying he should be convicted. Anybody who does witness tampering should be convicted. Look, this is clear. There was communications going on behind the scenes, even in the text messages through Alyssa Farah. Liz Cheney agreed that she can't have this communication without her attorney present, but she continued on with the communication. Mm-hmm. And what's interesting is the way we got to this was just methodically putting pieces together. This all came to light very early on in my investigation. I'm talking about very early last year when I got a call from Stefan Pasentino, and he said, look, I'm being accused of some things from this January 6th committee. They're trying to get me disbarred. The entire proof of everything is in the video of the depositions that I did with Cassidy Hutchinson when I represented her, especially the third deposition. That's, if I can just get a copy of that video, and this is right after I acquired all the documents, and we started looking for that video. Not only could we not find that video, we couldn't find any videos of any of the depositions.
Wow.
Which made me start wondering, why are these videos missing? And that's what got us on this path. Now, the one thing that could exonerate him was missing. But we interviewed him, we interviewed others, and then we started pulling pieces together. And then these text messages, I think, pull the whole thing together. Yeah. And the most egregious thing to me is they then, after all of the back channel communications and Cassidy Hutchinson and Liz Cheney then meet because they acknowledged that they had been talking directly. They were using Alyssa Farah as an intermediary, but then they started talking directly. It was right after that Stefan was fired as Cassidy's attorney, and Liz provided her with a new attorney pro bono. Wow. Then all the stories started changing.
Yeah.
But beyond that, they tried to destroy Stefan's career by having him disbarred from the state of Georgia and D.C. He's been totally exonerated by both bars.
Yeah.
But that just shows you the level that they were going to cover up the things they were doing.
Oh my. So as you're unraveling all these depositions are missing, obviously they seem to have gotten rid of documents as well during after the J6 Select Committee. I mean, is there going to be any accountability? What would that look like for Liz Cheney?
Well, that is a great question. I can tell you that under the current makeup of our Department of Justice, there wouldn't be.
Right, right.
And so I think it's a waste of time to do any criminal referrals or any type of referral right now. But come next year, if there is a significant change in the White House, if Donald Trump wins and we get an honest Department of Justice who is really seeking justice, then I think that's something for the attorneys to look at. We're through this entire process, as I've said, I'm not going in there to tip the scale one way or the other. That's what the other committee did. They came in with a narrative, they came in with an objective, and they were going to prove what they wanted to be true. We came into this totally unbiased, objective, just to get to the truth. And so everything we present, hey, these are the facts right here. You make your conclusion. You make a conclusion of Cassidy Hutchinson lied under oath. The evidence looks to me like she did when she claims Donald Trump tried to attack a Secret Service agent, but that Secret Service agent then testified that never happened.
Right.
Even though the committee didn't interview him until months after they went public with Cassidy Hutchinson. And get this, when they finally interviewed him, and Cassidy Hutchinson testified publicly in June, they didn't interview him till November after the midterm elections.
Well, and
then they never asked him about that incident. He had to interject it himself.
And that Cassidy, sorry, Congressman.
Then they hid the transcribed interview. So.
And then they hid it. Yeah, and the Cassidy Hutchinson testimony, the blockbuster testimony, which of course has been proven to be false, that Donald Trump tried to wrestle the steering wheel from the driver of the car. She only came up with that story and modified her original first two depositions when Liz Cheney instructed her to fire her lawyers, or appears to have influenced her to fire her lawyers, and then provided her a new set of pro bono lawyers. That's when suddenly that story came up. Also, we're speaking with Congressman Loudermilk of Georgia. Kamala Harris continues to tell a story about January 6th. Here's from her interview with Jane Pauley. Quick listen.
May I ask, was the TV on? Did someone say, Madam Vice President-elect, you got to see this, come? How did that unfold?
I was at the Capitol that morning, and then I was in a meeting, and I was told that I should leave. And then I was taken to a secure location with my...
Now, Congressman, my understanding, based on the security footage that has been released, is that she left right after 11 a.m., which is well before anybody got to the Capitol. And the secure location, she went to the DNC, which, by the way, we're told had a pipe bomb in the shrub right next to it. Hardly a secure location, and the Secret Service didn't notice it. Can you unpack this for me? Because it sounds like she was taken away for her own protection and brought to a safe location because the Capitol was being invaded.
Well, she was at the DNC that morning and at the early onset. We know that. I don't know that was the secure location she's talking about, but she was evacuated from that. Look, there was tremendous failure with all this too. The Secret Service showed total incompetence that day, which then if you fast forward to July 13th of this year, there was a lot of incompetence then when the attempted assassination of President Trump. And so part of this investigation is, I think we've uncovered the Secret Service has had problems for quite a while. An agent walked by that pipe bomb twice and never noticed it, and even had a canine with him. But then when they evacuated her right the door right by where the pipe bomb is.
Right.
So
Yeah.
it's
Smart.
it's just mind-blowing, the incompetence that we saw from so many groups, that they were allowing citizens to drive by the street and walk right by where these pipe bombs were. And no one knew who was in control. Nobody. The Capitol Police said it was on, Metropolitan Police jurisdiction, but yet the Secret Service had jurisdiction because Kamala Harris, as Vice President-elect, was there, and no one took charge. No one knew what they were doing. I think a lot of this is because the mission has become secondary to woke policies in most of our agencies. Most of these agencies are more worried about the color of your skin or some other factor, what percentage of females you have, or what percentage of minorities, or how many transgenders you have, over getting the mission done.
Representative Barry Loudermilk of Georgia, where I hope he's going to be spending a lot of time in the next 19 days making sure that the election goes properly, and even more importantly, the counting of the ballots goes properly. Hopefully, Congressman Loudermilk, we won't have to have you on right after the election and ask you, what the hell is going on in Georgia?
Yeah, I feel more confident with the election here this time. President Trump was just here day before yesterday. I think he's feeling more confident, but his plan is just make it too big to rig.
Yeah, that's
have such a turnout.
Right.
It
and
works,
let me tell you,
and it rhymes.
And it's happening here in Georgia. Tuesday was the first day of early voting. My wife and I had several appointments, and we decided we'd just go early that morning and vote on my way to some appointments. The line at our local voting office was out the building, down the sidewalk to the road. That was amazing.
Jim Crow on
for
steroids.
early voting, first day. It was the
I
same
think
thing
Republicans
yesterday.
got the message.
Thank you, Congressman. We got to leave it there. I appreciate it. I know it's busy for you, so thank you for shedding insight into this, and thank you for your continued efforts on this January 6th committee. I know it's not going away, and let's hope we have a Justice Department that'll take it seriously coming up in a few months. Thank you, sir.
Thank you both.
Ethel Kennedy, the matriarch of the RFK branch of the Kennedy clan, passed away, as you know, at the age of 96 years old. And they had a funeral service, as it were, at the National Cathedral. I say as it were. It wasn't a funeral mass. She's Catholic, as far as we know, so they're probably. But this was sort of the state service, the federal service. And in the front pew there was Barack Obama and Joe Biden and Bill Clinton and Nancy Pelosi, by the way. First time Nancy Pelosi's been in the physical presence of Joe Biden since the coup. We didn't see them talking, but we did see the very interesting moment where Joe Biden and Barack Obama were down speaking rather animatedly at each other. Neither of them seemed too pleased. And you know they were talking about politics. They weren't talking about poor Ethel. They were talking about the election. And, man, nobody seemed very happy. A lot of people, we can't play any of the audio because none of it is fit for air. But a lot of people have sort of dubbed in their own.
There's been a lot of fun kind of AI-generated, voiceovers, bro, I mean, should I go back into the race? Like Joe Biden and Obama's like, Kamala's a disaster, and poor Ethel Kennedy. Like, no one's talking about her funeral other than bizarre comments that Bill Clinton made about Ethel, which is very strange.
Yes,
so,
in fact, I'm searching for that right now, and for some reason,
I am too.
I do
It was
not
something
see
like
the
he loved
audio.
flirting with Ethel or something like that.
Happens
Like she was
this?
kind of
Do
like
you
a
have
hot
it?
mama.
Okay, if Michael has it, we will play it. This is
Okay, let's play it.
Bill Clinton eulogizing Ethel Kennedy last night.
That would add to what others have said. And I doubt that I can, but I will tell you this. I thought your mother was the cat's meow. She would flirt with me in the most innocent ways.
That's so creepy, isn't it? Who does that?
So freaking creepy.
Who?
But I mean, that's Bill Clinton.
That's
you know,
that's
he's a
Bill's
woman's
perspective. Yeah,
He's
I
a
guess.
woman's man or man.
Actually, and Biden doesn't. He's not too different.
I'll always remember. I know all of you look forward to each year. A Valentine card. A Valentine card. Which, in our house, Valentine's Day is known as Jill's holiday. Like Ethel, Jill's a practical joker. It was no surprise. It was no surprise that Jill loved Ethel's card that year, which said, "I'm not sure the 100 others who receive it felt the same way, because apparently she sent that card, she sent to everyone that year." There was a picture of me and Ethel surrounded by hearts. Oh, you think I'm kidding? It meant a lot to me, I'm telling you. Printed the language on the card, it said, in the printed language of the card, it said, "I'm not biding my time waiting for you, Valentine."
Again, the story has to do with a Valentine's Day card. I mean, I understand it's funny that it's got Joe
Well,
Biden
he was
on
at least a little more charming, considering that it's Joe
He wasn't
Biden.
just
The other
acting
one was
like
just
a
kind of
creepy
creepy.
lech. Yeah.
Yeah, but everyone obviously is honed in on this conversation between Obama.
Yes,
Can we
I want to know
read
what they were
lips?
talking about. By the way,
The Obama-Biden exchange.
where was Ethel's son, Robert Kennedy Jr.?
I don't know. I think that was so bizarre. He
Isn't
was
that
not
weird?
there.
He not that I saw.
Not that I saw either.
Well, he endorsed Donald Trump, so he's not allowed to mourn his mother's death.
Probably.
It's the great
Maybe
apostasy.
they didn't even invite him to the funeral. I mean, it's crazy because this is where, I get to the point that the Democrats have become. There is this sense of we got to try to figure out how to get along. It's like with some of my neighbors, I don't want to talk about politics. I talk about politics all day long. I'm exhausted by the end of the day. I want to talk about how's your dog, how's your garden, what's going on with the family, and they can't. They won't deal with us.
And everyone who says we'll never get along, they're confusing agreeing with each other with getting along. No, I'm not going to agree with some of these people, but we can at least get along. We can be
get
civil.
along. Life is not all politics.
The son is not invited to his mother's funeral.
Well, we
don't
know that. We're kind of making that up, aren't we? Trying.
We're not making it up. We're speculating. That's very different.
Speculating.
It's October.
Now on 105.9 FM and streaming worldwide on the WMAL app.
O'Connor and Company.
It's 7:36. It's O'Connor and Company. Coming up at 8:05, KT McFarland. At 8:35, Sean Spicer. It's Larry O'Connor with Mercedes Schlapp. And right now we're joined by Brent Bozell. Boy, if that's not a lineup. KT McFarland, Sean Spicer, Mercedes Schlapp, and now Brent Bozell, president of Media Research Center. How lucky are we? Good morning, Brent.
What a day.
Good morning. How are you?
We're good. We're still reeling from last night's astounding interview. What a performance by Kamala Harris. I wonder what stuck out to you as you reflect on this, what turned out to be 26 minutes, truncated because of shenanigans from the Harris campaign at the last minute, making Brent Bear wait 15 minutes or 20 minutes before they even got started. What did you make of this?
Well, first, Brett Bear. I thought he did just a terrific job. He surprised me. He's a good interview. He's a good anchor. But I've not seen him stand up to a filibuster the way he did last night. Mm-hmm. He was not going to put up with that nonsense from her, and he let her know from the very beginning. If I ask a question, I'm going to push you until you give me an answer. Yeah. I thought he did an extraordinary job. But this reminded me. We are right now, Larry, Mercy. Think of World War I trench warfare. That's where we are in this campaign. In trench warfare in World War I, you had millions of soldiers fighting. You had the most fierce munitions falling from the skies. You had chemical warfare. But at the end of the day, you wake up in the morning and you only move 1 yard. And that's where politics is right now. This is what last night was another inflection point there. Why did she do this? Because A, she is obviously catching hell from the fact that she's been dodging the media all along, and they decided to do this. B, because it serves their base. to go after Fox News. That's why she showed up late. That was the attitude with Fox News. We don't like you. We're going to slap you around a little bit. That's why she was so contentious during this interview. That's why and no matter, if you asked her what's the price of tea of China, her answer was Donald Trump is unhinged.
Right.
That's why she answered that way. And then finally, she was trying to perhaps bring some undecideds to her camp that are in this universe. On the other hand, what you had was the Trump world looking at her and listening to this and saying, this is an affirmation of everything we've been saying. She won't give a straight answer on anything. This idea where she answers, I'm going to follow the law. What kind of answer is that? No one's suggesting she's not going to follow the law. What they're suggesting is she's going to create new laws that are going to take this country to a Marxist existence.
Right.
That's what what people are afraid of. But so at the end of the day, when the dust settles, trench warfare, the trench warfare will be social media that will analyze this. And I think at the end of the day, it's going to be a tactical victory for Trump.
Yeah, it does seem that on social media, it's very much that the left, they're in a defensive model right now, I would say, or mode. They're calling the interview an ambush. They're saying that Fox News was racist and sexist towards Kamala Harris. It's kind of, they fall on these, typical lines. But to your point, Brent, I don't know, I keep thinking, who in her campaign thought it was a good idea for her to sit down with Brett Baer? Because I have to say, the questions were very predictable. There weren't many surprises there, but she just was on complete defense the whole entire time.
Yeah, Mercy, isn't that interesting? There was no surprising question that came from Brett Baer. They were just, how many people crossed the border? Are you going to take responsibility? What are you going to do about it? I mean, they just weren't tough questions. But she seemed to be going in there just so that she could attack Fox News and just so that she could attack Trump. The analysis that you just gave, no matter how this interview turned out, they would have said the exact same thing: sexist, racist, all that.
Right.
This is what they do. So why did they do that? I mean, again, is there something going on in the internals of this campaign that are saying we can't play it safe anymore? We've got to stick our neck out. If that's the case, then boy, did they have to stick their neck out last night. But I just don't think it worked. I don't think they're going to try. They're going to try to milk this for all it's worth. But when all the chatter is out there, the more people look at this and they put aside all the vitriol and the name calling and all that and ask themselves the question, so what are her positions? What they're going to realize is she won't give them.
We're speaking with Brent Bozell, president of Media Research Center, and one other phenomenon has happened here, Brent, that I know that you guys are really plugged in on, and that is how the media spins this interview. There's screenshots right now of headlines from all the major websites, publications, and they're all singing from the same songbook, Brent. Each one of them said this isn't an accident. They all say Kamala Harris has testy interview with Fox News. Testy. Testy is not a word that everybody uses, but all of a sudden it's in every single headline. How does that happen? It really does look like they share some sort of talking points memo.
I used to joke about asking the question: Do the media get together at 8 o'clock in the morning and decide how they can screw conservatives?
Right.
Yeah, I think they do.
Yeah.
I know what it is. It's a mindset. It's just a world. They all think alike. All they do, look at what CBS did, where they actually took out her interview and put in another interview to make her sound better.
Yeah.
How in the world could this? This is something a campaign would do. A campaign staffer would do if a campaign staffer could do it. The media are campaign staffers, except they're not on salary.
Yeah.
They're no different than a campaign staff. So when you say that testy thing, that's the water cooler of leftism talking. So that is, they do. It's a monolithic world out there where the press is concerned. And by the way, she was playing to that as well. She was playing for USA Today, for the New York Times, for ABC News, for CNN, all to come to her defense today, which they probably will.
But she refuses, just real quick, she refuses to do the Wall Street Journal editorial, refuses to sit down with Bloomberg. It's just, to me, such a fascinating selection of media outlets that they're doing right now.
And Mercy, well, why not? Why not do more interviews on ABC or NBC?
Yeah.
I mean, what you've got is a pliant media that will do anything to help her at this point. Look what CBS did.
Right.
I mean, you just can't get more nefarious than what CBS did for her. Well, they're all going to do something to help her out. I don't understand why she doesn't do more of that. But I think her idea, I think she really thought you could have a basement strategy, and that basement strategy isn't working.
Yeah, certainly not. If they were confident and they were ahead or thought they were ahead, they wouldn't be doing any of these interviews. They'd be playing out the clock.
Correct.
Brent Bozell.
Bottom line. Larry, that's the bottom line right there.
Media Research Center. Love you guys. You're the best. Thank you. Appreciate
Thanks so
it.
much.
743.
Making sense of your world.
Thank you for what you do.
News Talk 105.9 WMAL.
You give me hope.
Making sense of the news.
Miss anything? Don't worry, we've got you covered. Get today's breaking news on the Vince Colonnese Show, weekdays 3 to 6, right here on WMAL.
You and I both know what I'm talking about.
I actually don't. What are you talking about?
What I'm talking about is that over the last decade...
I actually don't know what you're talking about. During the interview yesterday, Kamala Harris
what I'm talking
kept
about.
referring to an event that she had just done in Pennsylvania with former Republicans, or I guess they still call themselves.
Listen, over the last decade, it is clear to me, and certainly the Republicans who are on stage with me...
Yeah, and one of those Republicans on stage with her yesterday, including Representative Adam Kinzinger and other Republicans who were endorsing Kamala Harris, was our own Republican Congresswoman from the 10th District, now retired because she couldn't keep her seat, Barbara Comstock. Barbara Comstock, what a journey she has been on politically.
I'm sorry,
Yeah.
I'm interrupting you.
Go ahead.
But like Barbara Comstock was part of the Republican National Committee. It's like Michael Steele. Like
she worked for the RNC when Romney was the nominee.
Oppo researched all the Democrats and then all of a sudden decide, I hate Donald Trump, so guess what? I got to go with Kamala Harris. So I'm going to ask the listeners real quick, because this is something that one of my dear friends was part of that list that endorsed Kamala Harris for president. And I know in her heart, she is like completely a pro-lifer. And I'm going, I understand you hate Donald Trump. So, but to move from hating Donald Trump to actually supporting this woman, Kamala Harris, who is an extremist on so many of our issues.
Yeah.
I don't know how you get there.
Well,
I just don't understand it.
So you mentioned the life leader. Well, first, let me quote Barbara Comstock for you, because this is sort of the takeaway here.
Okay.
Quoting her, I think there's a silent majority. I think there's a silent group of women who will crawl over broken glass to vote against Trump and who will quietly vote for Harris. And you mentioned abortion, and I think I think Barbara Comstock thinks that that's a big part of this, that you know, they may not be saying it, but because of abortion, they're going to vote for Kamala Harris. And there may be something else, but the response to you, when you hypothetically or rhetorically say, I don't know how you make that journey, I guess the response is, if this is true, that's just how much they don't like Trump. The answer is,
that's what it is.
I am willing to turn back on literally every principle and value I've ever stood for because Trump is that bad. Well, but and we're saying it, but there are women like that. And so the question is there anything that can be done about that?
So Barbara Comstock believes that biological men can play in girls' sports.
Barbara Comstock would say...
Barbara Comstock believes that she's an extremist, that it's okay to be an extremist on abortion. To me, that's not the Barbara Comstock I knew back in the day.
I believe Barbara Comstock would say, no, Mercedes, I haven't changed on any of those positions. The problem is Donald Trump. And he has to be stopped. It's him. It's just him. It has nothing to do with policy. It's just him. And I think, do you think there are voters like that? I think there are voters like that.
I do believe there are some voters like that.
Whether Comstock is right, I don't know. Yeah. Do they show up in the polls?
Yeah, I think they do, because they hate Trump so much. But you can hate a candidate and then say, okay, I'm just not going to vote because, like I was thinking about Mike Pence. I'm like, what is Mike Pence going to do? He's not going to vote for Kamala. Right. So what, is he going to vote for himself? Like, seriously? Like, he's going to write in a candidate?
Right.
I mean, it's just kind of crazy to me. It's like, we're talking about.
It's like Larry Hogan right here in Maryland.
Look, or maybe they cut a deal with Barbara Comstock that maybe she can serve in the administration.
Well, honestly, I think for a lot of them, that's what this is. I think Barbara Comstock doesn't have a gig. And I think she's exactly the kind of Republican Kamala Harris would appoint.
I know, but I mean, I knew her back in the day. Like, it's so sad to me. Like, she's like lost her mind. It's just so sad to me.
Can I? And I'll say it. We interviewed when Barbara Comstock was running for that seat.
Yeah.
Virginia 10. We interviewed her quite a bit that year. That year, we did a live event at a diner out in Sterling, and she came to the event. It was like 2 weeks before the election. She had been running for this seat forever. She used to work with the former congressman who was there. Was it Wolf, I think? And she sat at this diner with voters, and we were interviewing her on the morning show. And again, this is a woman who's worked in politics. She's been campaigning for months to win Virginia 10. She sat with a sheet of paper with talking points in front of us while we were talking.
Mm-hmm.
She was reading from her talking points during the interview. And I'll never forget. I will never forget that about her. It's like, do you not know the actual issues you're running on? Here we are 2 weeks before the election, and you're reading from a sheet of paper in a radio interview. What the hell?
Yeah.
And I guess
I'm surprised because she's a smart lady. It's not like she's not a smart lady. It's just I don't get it. I don't get it.
And listen, I'm not naive enough to think that in a radio interview, probably most of the candidates we're talking to are reading from a sheet of paper. But you're doing a live event in front of voters.